Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and sadly, we missed out on Jamel Dean to bring him in as a corner, but this doesn't necessarily make up for it, but the Commanders did sign Cameron Dantzler. Well, technically, we claimed cornerback Cameron Dantzler off of the Vikings practice squad, and I gotta talk about his weaknesses and strengths and why this actually is a pretty underrated signing. But at the same time, we got to add some speed to this cornerback group, man. And does this stop us from drafting a cornerback in the first round? Remember, Ron Rivera said at the Combine, we're going to do everything that we can do in free agency to try to fill in as many holes as we can. So by the time we get to the draft, we're going to draft best player available. So does this signing make us less likely to take a Christian Gonzalez or a Devon Witherspoon, Keely Ringo, Joey Porter in the first round of the draft? Or does it not affect anything at all? Remember, we already re-signed Danny Johnson to a 2-year deal. Now we just claimed Cameron Dantzler. We signed 2 offensive linemen. What more moves are coming up? Well, actually, I was literally editing a video breaking down our interests in some top players that are available out there, but I felt like I need to stop editing that video, go ahead and report this, get this out, and then I'm gonna get that done right after this. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that, man. Before we dive into this video, make sure you pull up every Sunday for the Commanders call-in show live stream, man, where we talk everything, and I open up the phone lines for you to call and you ask whatever questions you may have. You voice your opinions on everything for agency draft. You can even propose debate topics that other callers can talk about, that I can talk about, that people in the chat can discuss, all of that. So man, make sure you stay tuned. Film sessions, draft stuff, free agency, everything Commanders, I got y'all every day, daily content, all of that. So stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get it. All right, so the Washington Commanders have claimed cornerback Cameron Dantzler off waivers from the Minnesota Vikings, first confirmed by Tom Pelissero, and he was teammates with Montez Sweat at Mississippi State. They were there at the same time, so pretty sure Montez Sweat is pretty happy about that. Dantzler, 24, was a 2-year starter at Mississippi State. The Vikings selected him with the 89th pick in the 3rd round of the 2020 NFL Draft. He was entering the final year of a 4-year, $4.585 million rookie contract and set to earn a base salary of $2.743 million in 2023. So he costs a little bit. He's a little bit more expensive than Danny Johnson. And we know Danny Johnson is a certified slot corner at the very least, but he can also play a little bit outside. He can even return if you need him to. And I'm pretty sure Danny Johnson is very excited about his new contract, but cap space wise, Dantzler is a little bit more expensive than Danny Johnson. But the Vikings opted to waive Dantzler last week, and I believe they were hoping that he may end up back on their practice squad if they could, but they were cool with letting him go, and then if he didn't make it back, they were fine with it. Unlike the Cowboys, when they released John Ridgeway, they were hoping that he could make it back to their practice squad. Like they were like really hoping, and we ended up snatching him up, and that ended up working out very well. So hopefully this works out very well for us. And in 2022, the most recent season, because I feel like that's the best one to go off of, Dantzler appeared in 10 games for the Vikings and recorded 50 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 5 passes defense. Doesn't sound too bad. He started 26 games with the Vikings in total, and 9 of the 10 games that he played in last year he started in. So he started 9 games for the Vikings last season. But the thing is, though, he didn't play much down the stretch for the Vikings. Like towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs and into the playoffs, for some reason he played way less. I don't exactly know what he did wrong, because when I look at his tape, I don't think he's bad enough to like bench. I feel like he has a lot of untapped potential there, so I don't know why they did that. He was a starter for them for 9 games, and then towards the end of the season, they just said, we don't want to play him no more. But the reason we got him, another long corner, 6'2", 185 pounds. Kind of like Benjamin St-Juste, long, but a little underweight, so don't expect him to contribute much in the run game, but he is a nice long corner. We have a clear profile that Jack Del Rio likes, and if you can have a Benjamin St-Juste on one side and potentially another Benjamin St-Juste on another, that's perfect for us. And then Kendall Fuller doing everything he needs to do on the outside, inside, rotating around, doing everything he needs to do, that would be ideal. But that's not to say that Cameron Dantzler is coming in here to start, because 2022 season wise, he had a Pro Football Focus grade of overall 63.1, a 55 run defense grade, and a 64.7 coverage grade. Not great, but decent. That's really good for somebody you're claiming off waivers. Usually guys with those type of grades aren't just wandering around in the street. So this is a very underrated signing. This is a solid signing. But is it a game-changing signing? Did we just sign a starter? Not sure. Not very likely. Does it stop us from drafting a corner in the first round? Highly doubt it. I don't want it to, but we're going to get into that later. For now, coming out of the draft, just to let you know, this guy's not that great of an athlete. He's long. You like his size. You like the 6'2", but you don't like the weight. Little underweight. And then even at 185 pounds, to run a 4.64 combine is not good. A 2.71 20-yard split and a 1.64 10-yard split is not good, man. And then a vertical jump of 34.5. I don't know what happened, because on tape he seems way more explosive than that. I love the way he breaks on the ball on tape in coverage in college and for the Vikings. So that vertical, he just tested poorly. And then the 4.64 40-yard dash. Now, I'm not going to necessarily say that you don't see that on tape, but he's not 4.64 slow. I would say he's somewhere in the 4.5s. Like, honestly, I think on tape he looks as fast as Benjamin St-Juste, which isn't really fast because Benjamin St-Juste ran a 4.55, which is not great for a corner at all. That's actually pretty slow. But at the very least, he has great change of direction skills and he can break on the ball when he needs to. Cameron Dantzler comes with that as well. His tape is pretty similar to like a Benjamin St-Juste, who's a little bit longer and maybe you can argue is a little bit faster. But they have the same change of direction on tape, in my opinion. They have the same explosion on tape, so we'll see. Because when we drafted Benjamin St-Juste, we didn't just assume he would be a starting outside corner for us and arguably the best corner on our team when healthy. So maybe Cam Dantzler comes in and does the same thing. Doubt it, but there's an opportunity. It's not like we just signed a definitive backup that's not even going to make the 53-man roster. I think Cameron Dantzler has a good chance of making the 53-man roster just based off of his traits and, again, the tape that he showed for the Vikings. Now, sticking with the speed that I'm talking about, man, Benjamin St-Juste isn't very fast. Cameron Dantzler may be even slower than him, and we don't even know what Kendall Fuller is because he didn't do any combine stuff except for a bench press. And then even on tape, Kendall Fuller doesn't look fast. His biggest weakness, if anything, is his lack of speed because people can beat him deep. If it's underneath, he's great at breaking on the ball with his intelligence, but he's not a good athlete. Kendall Fuller is arguably one of the least athletic guys in our DB group, if not the most unathletic. And so we need speed in this cornerback group, man. We got some explosion and speed in the safety group, a lot of it, especially in Derek Forrest and Percy Butler. But this cornerback group is not. But this cornerback group is not very athletic. It's very long. It's versatile, but it's not very athletic. It's not explosive. It's not very fast. I want some of that. But coming out of the draft, and what I saw somewhat for the Vikings as well, he's great in zone, but I don't love him against man. And I feel like the main reason I don't love him against man is his lack of speed. But with his length, you can ask him to play press man. I mean, literally, like, his weaknesses and strengths are basically Benjamin St-Juste. Is he going to be as good as Benjamin St-Juste? I wouldn't put money on it, but the traits are there. And the same guys that turned Benjamin St-Juste into what he is now are the same guys that are going to coach him up and potentially turn Cameron Dantzler into Benjamin St-Juste. So if anybody can do it, it's us. So I'm excited about his potential. I mean, he's a very aware guy, has nice football and coverage IQ. Again, great in zone. I feel like that's his best trait. Very instinctive. And Jack Del Rio loves to run zone. He likes to run zone more than anything else. He'll switch it up and run man occasionally. But Kendall Fuller and Benjamin St-Juste are best in zone. Cameron Dantzler is best in zone, so he fits right in. But just like Benjamin St-Juste, he has a weakness of you worry about him in the run game. You got to pretty much hide him in the run game. Him making an open field tackle, especially in the trenches, not very likely, not something you should depend on. I honestly would prefer to depend on Kendall Fuller to make a play in the run game and blow up a screen like he always does a lot of the time, more than Benjamin St-Juste and Cameron Dantzler. But coverage-wise, I'm excited about him. I'm not going to lie. But I'm thinking that maybe the Commanders, just based off of talks around the NFL, especially at the Combine where all coaches, GMs, players, and everybody was at, even veteran players were there. Like Derek Carr was there to have meetings with potential suitors that he would go to. He ended up going to the Saints and things like that. Everybody and their mama was at the Combine. So the Commanders probably heard rumors, whispers around that, hey man, these corners are going to go fast in the draft. So all of the corners that we really like, most notably like a Christian Gonzalez, probably will not be there at 16. So we need to make sure we have a contingency plan there so we don't do anything too hasty and end up giving away a bunch of draft picks to trade up to get them. Again, like I said earlier, like I've been saying in several videos, several live streams, I'm very happy that we have this strategy. Ron Rivera said at the Combine that we're going to do everything we can to fill in holes in free agency, even if it's not a great solution, even if it's not a certified starter Pro Bowler. At the very least, it's not a big gaping hole there. So we're doing everything we can to fill needs in the free agency, and then when we get to the draft, we can go straight best player available and draft who we want to draft and not who we need to draft. So now Cameron Dantzler doesn't necessarily stop you from drafting a top corner in the NFL draft, but if all of the guys go, if there's a big run on corners, Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon, Joey Porter are all gone by the time we pick 16th overall, which is very likely. And again, I feel like Rivera and Mayhew probably heard rumblings about that at the Combine, that those guys are all going to go early. Then now having Cameron Dantzler doesn't make you feel as bad about not drafting a corner in the first round. But no, of course he does not stop you from drafting one of those guys if they make it to 16. Or honestly, if they're available at like 13, I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders traded up to get like a Christian Gonzalez if he's available somewhere within that range, and all you got to maybe give up is like a 4th round pick to make that trade up happen. But yeah, roster wise, DB wise, we have Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, of course. Christian Holmes is learning, but you know, don't depend on him. Danny Johnson, when in doubt, can start in the slot if we need him to. Rashad Wildgoose is interesting. Tariq Castro Fields is one of the most athletic players on our entire team. I'm not sure if a lot of y'all know, but his RAS score is like a 9 point something, and so there's a lot of loaded potential there. If we want to take like a ball of clay to mold, he's your ball of clay to mold. So I'm excited about seeing his progression and development in the offseason. So we have some talent in the cornerback group, but of course, if Christian Gonzalez is in range, you do what you got to do to get him. I love Devon Witherspoon a lot as well. The way that we approached offensive line, I think is way less likely that we take offensive line in the first round. But the way so far that we've approached cornerback, again, we're not panicking and forcing taking a corner in the first round, but I still think it's very likely because this linebacker class isn't that great, and we still have a needed linebacker. Linebacker, you can argue, is easily the biggest need we still currently have on our roster right now. We need to go get David Long no matter what. But either way, this linebacker group just isn't good enough in the draft for us to take one 16th overall. So it's just starting to look more and more likely that we're going to end up trading back. And I would love to trade back and end up getting Darnell Washington and maybe one of the best corners available then and something like that. I'm really excited about that strategy potentially. But again, this Cameron Dantzler thing makes it so you don't have to panic and force taking a corner 16th overall if your top guys are gone. But it also doesn't stop you taking one of your top guys if they somehow make it to 16. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. How do you feel about this Cameron Dantzler pickup and us re-signing Danny Johnson for 2 years very cheap? Do you feel like we're still going to go cornerback in the first round? Is that still our biggest need first round wise? And of course, man, I appreciate all the support. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.